Did you know your computer can kill you? Do you know this video is also getting demonetized? In today's video, we're going to answer or inform you about things you never really thought you needed to know, how a computer can kill you. So I have a list of 10 exquisite ways in which the computer that I have back here can end my life. So let's go through the list, shall we? Starting off is fall damage. This isn't like typical fall damage. This isn't like you jump off of something and you land and you don't feel too good afterwards. And this is the kind of like fall damage that is best modeled by like an anvil in Minecraft. Drop the anvil on someone's head. Well, computers are pretty heavy, so if you drop them on someone's head, you have a big chance of doing a big oof. There's also a high chance you just break your bones or something if you miss. I wouldn't like land on the shoulder. Like if you were gonna get a computer dropped from a pretty high distance, go for the head because it will be pretty painful. Probably even with the head, pretty painful. The next one though, however, is kind of important. So this is a capacitor, and this right here is a power supply. Now, inside of said power supply is a bunch of capacitors. And you might be going, if you're really unfamiliar, what's a capacitor? Well, a capacitor is like a little battery. Capacitors come in all different kinds of voltages. If you get around 30 to 40 volts, that's the point which it can break your skin and therefore give you a little tingle. So if it's over 40 volts, then it can give you a little bit of a tingle if you lick both ends of the probes. Don't try this. So inside of these power supplies, you have stuff that's got to deal with stuff coming out of the wall, obviously. Power outlets. Mains voltage. So if you go through and you touch both of these ends of the capacitors inside of this, you're going to get a tingle equivalent to what you get out of the wall. So in the United States, that's 120 volts, which is definitely over the amount that can break your skin and therefore conduct electricity. And 240 in the UK and elsewhere. So why a capacitor can kill you? Well, if you connect both of these little probes here, you're going to get a tingle. It'd be the last tingle you get. I'm trying not to get demonetized, but this is kind of late for this. If you don't get a big oof after that, then you're going to have some burns because it's not going to feel good, or nerve damage, or a lot of things. Not a good idea. Capacitors are cool. Just be careful. And my next thought is, well, what happens if you eat a computer? I mean, that's a pretty common, very common thing that people do, is they eat computers. There are definitely computers that are designed to be internal, like, pacemakers, all that stuff that are supposed to be, or at least designed somewhat to be in your body. But if you eat a computer, you have a lot of different substances. So for example, it depends on like when the computer is from. If you're taking a snack on an old computer, you may experience some lead soldering and may get lead poisoning. Not a good thing to do there. Also, there's a lot of metals and stuff that you probably shouldn't eat regardless. Not to mention thermal paste is kind of toxic as well. So if you just start chowing down, maybe your resistors are your favorite snack, or maybe you're part of the capacitor group that likes snacking on capacitors. Capacitors have electrolytes in them, which are kind of toxic. And if you take a snack out of what's in this, you're going to, have an interesting last meal. We'll just say that. Very, very interesting last meal. You'll have to let me know what it tastes like. While I may have done a lot of stupid things on this channel, becoming a connoisseur of capacitors has not been on that list so far. Next up, for number 4, there's a couple things that can happen from you just using a computer too much. So for example, you sit in front of the computer all day, every day, and you don't really move around a little bit. I'm not trying to attack anyone's life choices, but be careful with how much time you're spending in front of the computer. Get outside, do a little exercise, go take a walk, something, because there's a lot of diseases that can be caused by eating a lot of food and not working out or not doing something else. For all you guys watching, get up and do a walk right now or something if you're watching this on your computer. Number 5 on this list, I actually had to do a little research for because I was really pleasantly surprised. Apparently chairs, the chairs that we all sit in our computers, the compressed can of air below the chair has at least a potential to go kaboom. And you may get a pleasant tingle in your lower body when it does. Depends on what you're into. So apparently someone had, it didn't kill them, but it got them pretty seriously injured. So if you have a chair that has a questionable can of air to, pump it up and down, you may want to be extra cautious about your rear end. Other thing I thought of when I was doing this is I was like, well, what happens for those people that have like pacemakers and stuff? Well, if the pacemaker runs out of battery or goes out, you are in a tricky situation. If the computer just decides, oh yeah, you don't need to have a heart anymore, you may commit a big oof and have some problems. So computers, pacemakers, medical machines, like if an imaging machine got a virus or something, someone made a virus for it, that'd be really rude. Like, imagine being stooping to the level where you just want to like maliciously harm people using medical equipment. Too much radiation, a bunch of x-ray doses, etc. That would be a really, really sad way to do it. The next one is a personal favorite of mine because it goes back to capacitors. So we talked about the tingle that you might get from your caps. Well, and this time we're talking about capacitor explosions. These things are kind of dangerous, aren't they? Well, small ones aren't really, but big ones. So basically, capacitors have a positive and a negative end. One, of course, is, current comes in, which is technically the negative end, but for the sake of things, positive and negative. Well, if you switch those and do the positive to the negative and the negative to the positive, you may, you definitely will experience a fireworks show. Now, exploding capacitors have a lot of problems. You can watch some cool YouTube videos where these guys take these and explode them. I'm not exploding this one because this was for my lab last semester. But this has the potential to go boom. Now, small ones, they do release some toxic chemicals. As I said earlier, electrolytes that are in here. So you may not want to be breathing those in. They may not be the most aromatic. But if you were to get a larger one and flip it around, it does present a rather issue. Now, I haven't seen any of the size of like barrels in person at least. But man, it would be very interesting what happens if you took like a barrel, like an oil barrel size capacitor and flipped it around. I'd start running. Just imagine that for a second. Yeah, that'd be a cool game show, right? The next one on this list is about grounding. Now, in particularly for computers, I thought of this really bad idea. I thought of this idea where you had a plug adapter that took, the 3-prong, you have the positive, well, not really positive, both ends of the AC socket, and then you have a grounding, at least in the United States. Well, I was wondering if, it would be extremely stupid to remove that bottom prong and just take like something that should be grounded and remove that bottom prong and plug it directly in, because while you can do that, it's really, really, really dangerous. So why is grounding important? Well, if something gets shorted, you would have AC, the alternating current that's in your wall, 120 volts, have nowhere to go. It wouldn't be able to go through the ground, it wouldn't trip your breaker, etc. And you would touch it, and you get your last tingle, the last tingle you normally get. Removing the grounding sounds like a horrible idea, except for the fact that there are plugs online that you can buy that pretty much go through and let you do just that. So you can go through and remove that bottom prong and plug it directly into your wall. And now why is that on here? Well, you not grounded computer definitely could kill you, because if you went to go plug it in and it wasn't grounded, which I believe power supplies are supposed to be grounded. Yeah. Interesting tingle. That's what I would say. Interesting tingle. The next one on this list is fans. You've seen that I've overclocked some fans up really high. We've taken some Delta fans and chopped some hot dogs with them. So I would be, at least be careful. I'm sure sharp spinning objects have lots of all different kinds of accidents. You can cut off fingers, cut off thumbs. I mean, if you went head first into it, hope you really can aim. with your diving skills. Wouldn't recommend it, and don't do it. For number 10 though, I was thinking this is you have an extra one, by the way. You have a bonus. There's a bonus at the end if you stick around to the end. There's a bonus. There's 11 different things here instead of 10. I gave you an extra one. Number 10 though is Mr. Elongated Musk has Neuralink going, and Neuralink is computers in your head. I'm waiting for the day where you get hacked, and that doesn't sound like a particularly good idea. And I'm not fear-mongering, we notice that sometimes when you say something that might happen, people try extra hard to make sure it doesn't. And that's good. Number 11 on this list is battery fires. Now you're going, but Jay, I don't ever see batteries exploding at all. It's not like there were Samsung phones that exploded. Batteries of all different kinds explode, but like, what does that have to do? Well, first off, if it's in your pocket, you also going to get a different kind of tingle. That tingle is not going to be super cool. It might be a little hot, and depending on the size of the battery, you could get some serious burns. At the end of this video, you may be going, well, Jay, I have a question. Why did you make this video? This is a bunch of stuff that never happens. Well, I wanted to make this video because hopefully you may have learned something, maybe, that you shouldn't actually do. Now, while yes, there are plenty of people that know capacitors are dangerous, at least the ones that are in your power supply, some people may not. So if I can save somebody from licking a few capacitors on the back of their power supply, or, being more careful with where they put the batteries. They don't throw batteries just into the trash and then puncture one of them and have it catch fire. I think that would be pretty satisfying, and a video well done here. Also, it's kind of fun to make these kind of videos, because this is the kind of stuff I'd watch at like 3 a.m. Let me know down in the comments. Are you watching this at 3 a.m. at night? I do wonder, though, what does a capacitor taste like? Like, what does those two little strips inside the capacitor taste like? That's a good question.